Big week, like always. Every week's a big week in the Pac-12, but excited to be going to California to play some really good schools. So playing UCLA and USC is going to be a great challenge. Of course, we're getting Juju right after she's hot. Just had 51 points, but just a good challenge for us, and I think it's going to be a good test to see where we're at.
When you were talking about the tryouts the other day, you mentioned that you've gotten 30-year-olds who had,
Not me. Yeah,
Lauren
Lauren's
had gotten 30. I
Yeah.
mean, is that realistic? What would be the process for that?
Yeah, well, I think she's just gotten so many emails. I think it's like 240 or something. But like, I think people don't understand like when your clock starts and stops. So you only have a certain amount of time. So even if you played 1 year of college, you can't go back at like 30 and play 3 more. So she's just got a lot of interesting emails. So.
And I mean, Mike Hendry is taking over the department for the interim. What are your feelings about under his leadership?
I love Mike Hendry. I think that was a brilliant decision because he has so many good relationships here in Tucson. He's loved. The donors love him. He's a great like connector, and I think he gets it all. He's been a coach. He loved his year in his role working with coaches. So I think that he just understands every aspect and understands this department better than anybody. So I'm excited. I actually talked to him yesterday. He's a good man and like someone we all turn to. So I think he probably didn't know what it takes to be an AD because he's been like, he had meetings like all day. He's like, I haven't left my desk. And it was funny because as a coach, you're really busy, but then you leave, go to practice. You go to your element and where you love. So as an AD, I don't think you leave your desk sometimes. It's a lot harder, but especially right now, just with everything. But I think he's loving it. I think he's a good leader, and I think he'll do a good job. But I don't know like how long that's going to be. I don't know any of that stuff.
Ed said something really interesting on Sunday, especially considering how many hard falls she takes in a game, that she likes playing with just 7. She thinks it's great because she knows, okay, it's just go out there and send it. Have you seen that mentality with all these girls?
I think I just see a mentality of a great group of kids that really love each other and that want to play for each other and want to play for me and want to play for Arizona and just are passionate. So I think that's what shows. I think that as a player, when you know there's 7, I think there's a level of confidence because there's one side of it that's like, okay, I'm going to be exhausted. But as a player, when you're in the moment, you don't think about that. You think about that after. I think as a player, the confidence is you know you can work through mistakes because there's not enough people to pull you for mistakes. Or when there's like 15 people, you make mistakes, you may not get another opportunity. So I think when there's 7, psychologically, you know, I can play through mistakes, so I think you're willing to take more risks. And I think that's just how it is. Because you're gonna be like, oh, she has to play me anyways. Someone's gonna foul her. I'm being serious as a player. You're like, oh, I'm gonna play anyways. So, and I think that would be kind of like someone that's really comfortable. But I think they're having fun, they're playing hard, and I think they're just giving it their best. And I think that shows, and they're having a good time doing it. Like, are we winning as much as we want to? No. But I think we're doing what we're supposed to, and I think we're overachieving in a lot of ways.
Michaela's been kind of an 8th player here at home. Is there a way to sort of take that, all right, it's us against the world mentality on the road and consider you that way?
Wait, say the first part of the question again?
Michaela has sort of been like an 8th player.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
is
for
there a way to
sure.
take that mentality on the road?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're just really comfortable and confident at home. So definitely, we call them our 6th man or 6th woman. But I think that you're in your element. Like you're at your house, you're in your own routine. You're more comfortable. I think it's just easier. But then there's more distractions, right? But I think when we're playing in front of, I think there was 8,000 or 9,000 people on Sunday. It's a level of confidence you have. You know the rims. You know the surroundings. I think you're just more comfortable. But I think on the road also at 7, there's also mentality as you don't have anything to lose. So like you're not expected to go out and upset all, no one expects Arizona to go right now to UCLA and USC and go get a sweep. So there's no pressure. I think it's a lot different when there's pressure, like you have to win this game. I think there was a little bit more pressure even in the ASU game because we really, really needed that win, and that was a game we should, and that's a game that's important for like our standings and our situation. I think this weekend's like, you go there, you're not expected to win, so you go play your best, you have 7, and you just do your thing. I think that's a lot easier to play in those situations versus like you're supposed to win the conference, so you need to win. I think that's a lot harder.
I know you talked.
Oh, go ahead.
I know you talked the other day about the ways to jumpstart Helene at the offensive end. Would it be realistic to have possessions where only she is the one, like you say, only Helena can shoot on these
That's,
possessions?
you can't coach like that, that's hard, because I try to do that, but it doesn't work like that. Cause she's not gonna go force a shot, so sorry. She's not gonna go force a shot, she's gonna take a great shot. So what I did was I kept on talking to her about it, and then I ran like 6 plays in a row for her. She didn't shoot every time, but it made her be aggressive, cause I kept on running it and saying, we're running another one for you. And until you like start getting more, aggressive. But it's hard to like, these are possession games, a lot of them. It's hard to say only you can shoot at this possession. And like, she's not gonna respond to that. It would put too much pressure on her. I've tried everything, trust me.
With UCLA, I mean, they had great pre-conference, and then, I mean, you see how difficult it's been in conference for them. What does that just say about the conference?
Yeah, our conference is just so tough. And I think that throughout the year, injuries, and I think there's, who knows what's going on, you don't know what's going on in every program, but people are sitting for undisclosed reasons. So I think everybody goes through different stuff, and none of us know, we don't know what it is. But I think what you can say is, Coach, it's happening more and more on every team. So I think that that's generational, that's just kind of the state of athletics and how it is. But you're seeing a lot more of like things like that, and people missing them off of rosters, like nationally. So I think it's just coping mechanisms, it's just a lot more stress with like all the social media pressures. I think there's a lot of that. And I think we've really seen a big shift since COVID. Personally, I think that's just my opinion. But there's also been a lot of injuries. I don't know if it's just the demands, like bodies, I don't know, less attention to just like preparation, like physically, I don't know, or maybe it's too much AAU basketball coming into college, but you're seeing a lot more injuries. And so, but our conference is tough. It's so competitive. And on the road, I don't know what the stats are, you guys probably know this, but the stats on the road are like, getting wins on the road are really, really low. At one point it was like 11 and like 34, I don't know what it is now, it's probably, I'd assume like 17 and 40 something. So you really have to win at home. And I think those rival games are really tough, anybody can win, and it's just hard in the conference. So I'm hoping that people nationally recognize how tough this conference is, because when you're gonna look at overall records, and you're gonna look at Pac-12 records, they're gonna be bad, because everybody's gonna beat up on everybody. And if you have to hit this threshold of like being 500 or getting 20 wins, at our conference, that's gonna be very hard. So I'm curious to see how that's gonna play out with the committees and stuff in March.
You talked about social media pressure. It's certainly not exclusive to basketball.
Yeah.
But we see social media through our reporter lens.
Yeah.
What do you see inside kind of the fire and seeing through the lens of your players of what that social media pressure is and how it affects them on a daily basis?
I think it affects different players differently, but I see a tremendous amount of stress and a tremendous amount of priority given to social media. So, like for instance, like players only play stuff with a certain amount of likes. They only post stuff with a certain amount of likes and certain times a day. Like I don't use my social media like that. So you'll see I post a lot at night, and like they're like, you're not supposed to post at night. Like I don't really care. I just post what I want when I want my kids, not my kids. I post pictures that aren't pretty. They say, why do you post that? I'm just like, cause I don't know. I like the moment. They're like, no, but like you're supposed to look at it. I'm like, if I have to do all that and put on makeup and go in the garage and do a photo shoot, it's a problem. But I think there's just pressure, and there's like the body image stuff, to look a certain way, to be a certain way, or to portray this perfect life. I think it's just society, it's a lot of pressure, and I think it's kind of sad. And I'm glad I didn't grow up with that, because I see it, and I'm like, wow, the fact you have to think about all that, just to think of what type of pictures when, how many likes, it's just a lot of time. And sometimes I'll joke with them, I'll say, you need to work on your game as much as you work on social media stuff. Because think about it, they're probably spending hours a day. So like it's taking from somewhere else, and that's the stuff that's hard. And I think the expectation and what you have to portray and how you have to be, or you're like living your life on it, talking about your personal stuff, I just think that that's hard. I think it's hard to like sustain a life like that. When you're older, like when you're our age, you don't care. You're like, I post what I want when I want. If I don't look good, I'm married, it doesn't matter. I'm not looking for a husband, it's like different. I think when you're young, you're like trying to look a certain way, be a certain way, and I think it's a lot of pressure for young women. I don't think it's the same with men. I think it's just the women. And I think that's why nowadays you see in college athletics, like, we're not talking about weight, we're not talking about this, like, when I was in school, like your coach could tell you you're fat, like because maybe you are fat, like you know, like your coach can tell you like you need to get more athletic, or like now you can't do any of that, and I understand why, but that means there's so many issues with these things, and I'm just seeing it more and more, and I think it's hard, but the positive thing about it is there is more. Resources which it's probably always been around, but it was hidden because I think it's sometimes I'm like, gosh, like I played with so many concussions. If I look back, that's not healthy. Like I remember sometimes seeing stars and like getting hit in the head, like where am I at, what am I doing? But we played, like now you say you have a headache, you're out with a concussion. So it's just different, but I think that we've learned a lot, and we support athletes more because it is very hard. We talk about mental health a lot more. It was not talked about when I was growing up. Like no one talked about it. So I think there are positive things that are coming out of it, but I think just the kids in general have a tremendous amount of pressure.
Do you think in the athletics realm, part of that pressure might come from NIL opportunities? Because you see the biggest NIL earners in women's college sports, Libby Dunn, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, that are very, very active on social media. Yeah. Do you think that's part of the pressure?
Maybe if you're really concerned about making money, because I think if you look a certain way, or you're really good. I think if you're both, you're making a lot. Like Angel Reese, you're really pretty and really good. You're gonna make a lot of money. I just think it's sad that it's about that. Like because you see all us other athletes are not that good, but maybe they're beautiful, and you get money. So I think that's a society thing. I think that's kind of sad. Like I think there's a lot of pressure to be a certain way, to feel a certain way, look a certain way, and I think that's hard. And I honestly, as a woman, like, and I'm older, so hopefully I'm more mature. But you feel that way as a woman, like with having kids. Like I felt really bad. I remember it specifically. I will never forget this. I had a baby at 43, and like I felt baby older, and I remember reading a letter from a fan. It was about like the vaccination. Like I got vaccinated, and I tried to post it thinking it was a good thing because like I get people to want to get vaccinated. Like I thought I was doing a good thing, and then like this like 7-page letter, and it was from some guy. Probably from a fat guy, but anyways, it was just like this critical letter. And at the end of the letter, it was like, you're beautiful and you can like stand to lose 30 pounds. I was so mad. It was so offensive because I was like, wow. And the fact that I read it, I usually don't read that stuff. Something made me read it, probably for that, because it motivated me after. But it's like I just had a baby. Like we were like, it was COVID. Like the baby, Capri was like 6 months old. And he was basically like, you're fat. And I was like so offended. I was like, oh my gosh. But you just feel pressure, and like, for me, I felt a certain way because I was like this pro athlete that was like really fit before. I had never been overweight. I had always been athletic, but I never was a head coach with kids, and it was just hard. I felt like bad, and so that's just me at like 40. So I can't imagine the pressures now of like a younger woman and all these things and TikTok and social media, and then there's NIL. You want to look good, play good, be good. But I think at the end of the day, that's what like I really want to teach us. Like teach my young women to be confident, but I can't just say be confident. It's like I have to put them in situations where they gain confidence, whether that's media, whether that's etiquette class, like ways to get better and get more confident. I make them say stuff about themselves, like a couple things that are positive, or ask specific questions where they have to think of it and answer. And so I try to do that a lot to try to build confidence. And I feel great as a coach when like I see Sam Thomas. When she first came, she was like introverted, quiet. She only watched Netflix every day, did not leave her room. And then I watched her later like evolve and get better, then talking to Congress and dancing on TikToks and stuff like that. She would have never done that. So I watch those things, and then I watch like Ari, and they just change. So it makes you proud because you like left an imprint. But I just think it's just hard nowadays for women.
What update can you give us on Kaylin's availability for this weekend?
She's not available right now, but she could be. It depends on this week because we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So if she's available to play, like she'll travel and play. If she's not, she won't.
You had mentioned there's a level of contact your players have to
just in general. Just in general. So like any kind of like anytime you're out for a period, like if you're out on a break, you can't like come back and go like full contact. So anytime you're out, there's a protocol coming back. If you're out for medical, if you're out for mental, if you're out for, you had to leave for family emergency, you can't just come back because of injuries and the risk. So you come back at a certain percentage. So if you're in concussion protocol, you have to come back and you have to have non-contact days. Then you have to have contact days, which will clear you for a game. Like you can't just come back and you've been non-contact for 2 weeks of play because you risk, like it's just like, and it's also a liability thing and it's the safety of a student athlete. So for being out, because she's been out now like over 2 weeks, so that's a long time. She's been doing workouts, but she's got to be in full contact, like healthy, in full contact practices before she can play. But she's like, yeah, she's cleared to do that.
And what does full contact look like when you only have 7 players and
Yeah,
you're not
so-
really practicing at the level of a normal team?
A regular practice. So full contact would just be a regular practice. So Montea's in non-contact now. So non-contact is like 5-on-0. It's full court, review of plays. Contact is when there's a defender on you. It's live. Now, if you're like going through like a walkthrough, they can do that. But if you're going through live play where someone can hit you or stuff like that, so that's contact. So it's just a full practice. And also it's like it's what a player is willing to do. So like if maybe you're cleared medically, but if you're not ready or you still feel like you're not ready, that's a choice. I'm not gonna ever force someone. I'm not gonna say, oh, you're ready, because you have to be ready mentally and physically to do it, even if you're cleared. So I think it's just so it's gonna be how she feels and participation.
Courtney was able to get to the basket many times against ASU, but wasn't able to get to the free throw line. Is there anything more that you want to see from her in terms of drawing fouls or anything like that?
No, I think just finishing around the rim. I think she did a really good job. I don't remember her missing like a lot of stuff around the rim. I think she missed one, but she's driving. She's picking the right times. I think she's learning when to do it, when not. I think sometimes you would see her drive deep, then she pulls it back out. So that's a learning thing. I think she's doing a better job of running the team. I think she's giving us really, really good minutes, and she's been a huge spark. So I wouldn't change anything she's doing now. I think she's confident. I think she's ready, and I think she's doing her job. And I think she can even do more. And I expect her to do more, but she's helping us a lot.
She's having her best shooting from 3-point of her career.
Yeah, which is
And
great.
she seems to be doing better as the season's gone on. What have you seen different from outside from her, from start to now?
I think one of the biggest difference, I think I had a good talk with her, and then just kind of give her my perspective, and I think that sometimes helps, just the communication, I think, and telling someone you believe in them. And then I think after that, Caitlin was out, so we talked about the 7 players and the opportunity. I think she knew she was gonna get an opportunity, but that's sometimes players put pressure on themselves. She rose up to the occasion and she got minutes and she produced really well. So I think after that, I really saw a different Courtney, because now she's more confident, and that's how every player is. Every player, like when you have some success, you do well. I think you're just more ready, and she I think is just confident from the 3. We've worked a lot, like we work a ton on skills, so I'm hoping that carries over and continues to show. But she's getting better. She's much better than she was when she first got here. She had a couple of times in the games where like bad turnovers, like, or someone's calling her name. By the time you look at her and pass, it's always, so it wasn't all her fault. But I think when she first came, she did that a lot. You don't see her do that as much now, so she's getting better with the ball and valuing each possession, and I think she's doing well. But I think it takes that one game for you to kind of get over the hump and realize you can do it, and she did it against a really good team. And so I think that helps with confidence, which we need everybody to be confident because of just having 7 players.
So on Friday you play UCLA, and they're now in a situation that
Yeah, I
they'll
read
probably
that.
only have 7, maybe 8 players.
I never believed that for sure until you actually get there.
What are you seeing in UCLA right now, and sort of what's the scout for you?
Well, they're a lot different with the bets for sure. She changes a lot around the rim. She's really, really good. But I think it's one of those things where you don't talk about, you don't put focus on it, because we started playing better with shorter numbers. So I think you try, because other people step up, they get an opportunity, they haven't played a lot, so they're really wanting to play well. So I think sometimes people play better. They're good. Kiki, London, they have really good players. We know they're gonna play well at home. They kind of have this rough patch, so they're gonna really wanna win. And that's a tough weekend for us. Now, positives for us is that we have nothing to lose on the road. We just go out and, we're trying to win. And I think that for us, no one says go out and have to sweep. If we got to split, it'd be a good weekend for us. If we got to sweep, it'd be amazing. If we didn't win, it'd be bad, but it's not the end of the world because no one expects us to win. So we have 0 pressure. I think they have more pressure than we do. but I think that every team is so good. And then the good thing for us is with short numbers, we have an extra day. So that's a positive thing for us, an extra day, and then we play late on Monday. So we have plenty of time to rest, so for us it's a good situation. And I think it's gonna be fun, and people rise up to occasions. And for us, we played better, except for the Stanford game. We played better against better competition. So I think that if you saw how we played Colorado, Utah game, I think we played really well. The Stanford was kind of one-off. That was a tough one, but we hadn't been beaten by that much in, I think, probably my whole career here. So I think that we're ready, and I think that we're confident. I think the group is really enjoying each other. And if you watch us in practice, they're happy, they're young, they're not afraid, and they're playing like they have nothing to lose. So I love where we're at. I love our mentality. I love where we are just as a group. I'm enjoying them. It's been fun.
What do you think about the guard matchup with UCLA, with Kiki, London, and then obviously Jada and Courtney?
Yeah, and charisma. I think it's I think we have a lot more trouble when it's a really dominant post. Like if you look at like the Cameron and Kiki, like because of our numbers in the post and we're young in the post, and is Mary if she gets in foul trouble. So I think that we've had more success, I think, guarding guards, because then they match up a little bit better, versus like we don't match up with Cameron Brink at all. Like it's just, or Peely, like those are hard matchups for us. So I think I'm optimistic in the sense that, those players know each other, like Jada, our young guards know, Kiki, London, like I know London, I was like her first scholarship offer, I think in 8th grade. But they're good players, but they're not like experienced 5th years, and Helena's been there, done that. I think as Mary, these are good matchups this weekend for as Mary. Then Brea, like I don't think there's anybody that Brea absolutely can't play with. So I think that for that sense, we're good. And I think they're really good. But I think we're playing some good basketball right now. So I'm going to the weekend confident, knowing it's gonna be hard, but I think it's gonna be a fun challenge, and I wanna see how we're gonna react. I wanna see, like, after that Stanford thing, how we're gonna go play UCLA and USC. Is it gonna be like the Colorado Utah weekend? We played good basketball that weekend. We didn't beat Colorado, but we played well. So I think we've gotten better since then. So I wanna see how we're gonna do against those teams. Cause they're more aggressive. So I think that the matchups are better. I think we have a tougher time against like the pack lines and the really passive, like Stanford playing the percentages. I think that's harder for us to play. So I'm excited.
And what really, when you look at Juju Watkins on tape, what really stands out about her?
Gosh, so many things. So she's a tall wing, so she's about 6 foot, but she's like super skilled. So she's a hard matchup because if you're taller, she's gonna go by you. She creates space really well. She shoots it well. Goes right a lot better than left, but still can score at every level. And then if you put, she knows she's really dangerous right now, a lot of film, of operating in the elbow. She's really good at that, really good in transition. And I think that can create her shot at any time. So I think that's hard too, because if you look at other teams, there's like a certain action, like there's a chin off, there's gonna get like 3 or 4 reversals. Now with a star dominant player like her, it's like she can score at any time and she's gonna touch the ball. So it might be one pass and she's gonna create. I think that's hard sometimes. So she demands a lot of attention. But you gotta do what you gotta do. And we're not gonna go into the game like, oh, we're gonna shut her down, because we're actually not gonna shut her down, but we wanna slow her down and we don't wanna let her get cooking. And we don't want to give her 15 points and 19 from I think 17, 19 from the free throw line. So you have to not foul her, and she's just tough. So I think putting bodies at her, like making her uncomfortable, like making her get rid of the ball, make other people play, is going to be important.
I mean, USC in that game against Stanford, they had like 3 bigs foul out, and still. So I mean, is it more dangerous when she's it?
Yeah, so I think there's some philosophies like let their star player score all the points, but like that didn't work because they won. Typically, when you do that, it sometimes can work, because I don't ever do that because that's not my mentality. But I'm saying if I was a team that played percentages, but then I don't think it works with someone like her, because she can score 70 points. And there's other good players too on the team. But I think that the dangerous part, going to the rim, getting people in foul trouble, like she's gonna draw a lot of fouls. That's hard because like we can't afford to do that. So I think you have to do other things to slow her down, whether it's different looks defensively. I mean, you want to just get the ball out of her hands. and she can score against some doubles, but she's just really good. So I think making her work, making her defend, slowing her down is going to be important. Because if we let her, have 26 and a half, like it's gonna be a long night. But she's good. I mean, and the thing is, we got Charisma Osborne's really good too at UCLA, and so is Kiki in London. So it's a weekend where we have to play, and I want to see how we're gonna step up because we're young. All of our new players. I want to see how we rise to the occasion, and I think we have the personnel and the mentality to do so. I mean, Jada's not afraid of anybody. Brea's not. Skylar doesn't care. She's not afraid. As Mary's been there, Helena's been there, Courtney's new. So, think of all the people. They haven't ever been to LA, right? So the only people that have, I guess, it's only Helena and Mary. Yeah, Caitlin. Yeah, if Caitlin comes. So, everybody else, the other only four other new ones, but they've never been there. So they don't really know what to expect. So it's gonna be fun. I'm excited because it's gonna also prepare us for postseason, prepare us for the Pac-12 tournament, kind of see it. I mean, I don't know what they're ranked. I don't know what they were ranked yesterday, but
USC is 10, UCLA is 9.
yeah, so top 10 team. So how are we gonna play against a top 10 team? But we did that before a few weeks ago and we did well. So I want to see how we step up. And the big picture for me is all these experiences on the road, go to face top 10 teams. What are we gonna do? This is the freshmen are gonna learn. We're starting 3 freshmen. So in the future, it's gonna pay off. And the example I use a lot is how much UCLA improved. Last year they had some losses, but they rode with Kiki in London. They played a ton of minutes. And this year they're at a different level. So I think the objective is something similar for us.
What goes into the process of deciding if Kaylin can travel, you just mentioned?
Depending on practice. The practice and being with the team. If you're not with the team, you're not practicing, you're not playing, and you're not traveling. So if you are, then you're traveling and playing.
So that would be something you'd have to decide, I would imagine, in the next 24 hours if she would even be on the trip.
Yeah. If not, we're rolling with 7. But for me, rolling with 7 or 8, we've been playing with 7 players for 2 weeks. It doesn't make a difference. Having one more body is great for rest and stuff, but it's not a necessity. It's not life or death. I think we've been playing at a really high level, and this group is really bought in and doing the right things and playing the way I want to play. So if we had 8, it'd be great. We'd love to have Kayla back, but if we have 7, we're still gonna do well.
With the tryouts, if you were to find a couple players from this, what's the process of getting them going?
Yeah, so I just signed 50 pages of clearance. So in order to try out, you have to go through a physical, you have to go through the eligibility, so you have to pay. So it's not it's gonna cost probably $150. You don't just go to, I didn't know it was that expensive. I thought you just kind of try out, and if you make it, you do that. But so it's people that are pretty serious because you're going to get the physical, you have to register through the eligibility center if you're not in it, and it's costs money, and you have to go get seen. So it's it's not just show up and try out. So it's a whole process, and then it's today actually, before the radio show, and we'll kind of evaluate and see, and if we get a couple people, great. If we don't, it's not the end of the world. But it's funny. I wanted to add some managers because we have I don't make the NCAA rules, and sometimes they're just interesting. But ideally for us, as a coach, and I understand why you can't do this, but I would rather add a manager that played high school basketball. She's a manager because she loves to be around basketball. So I wanted to add a couple managers, but found out that rule changed. Because it would have been way easier for me just to suit a couple up. They're in practice, they know our drills because they're managers. So I already know they're good people, or else they wouldn't be a manager, they wouldn't be on scholarship with us. But you can't do it. You can't, once they became a manager, they forfeit their eligibility. And I understand why, but that was a newer rule. I was like, oh, that would be perfect. But then, because I would have added 3 of them. They all played 4 years of high school, and some competed at another sport in college. One of our players, Destiny, she swam. So I was, oh, that's perfect. And they were like, no. I was like, oh man. I was like, is there a waiver for that? No, Kristen's like, no, there's no waiver. But I'm hoping someone that played, or that played with one of our players at a high school happened to come here. So I'm hoping someone like that. But then there's a lot of research to make sure they're the right fit. We have a good group that loves each other right now. It has great chemistry and a great culture. And this group, I want to keep them and build on, that I'm invested in. I'm not. When I sign kids out of the program, it's not to replace these kids, it's to add and see it better. So I'm very conscious and I'm deliberate about that and like really focusing on that. So I want to make sure who I add is it's going to be not with the expectation of playing right away. It's going to be like being a good teammate, adding to practice, being vocal, adding, not just being there and not taking away. So if it's not that and it doesn't look right, it's not going to happen, and we'll risk just playing with 7. But I think I've done a good job of managing like our loads right now. We haven't had injuries, and that's been hard. I'm looking every day, tracking like their distance, their loads with Chris and Bart, and they've done a really good job of helping. So we know the load's higher. They had a really hard weekend. It's super light. It might be one day getting up, down a little bit, but it's been light. So now as a coach, learning how to balance, okay, we're still getting better on some technical stuff and doing that, and that's hard. Because normally I like to work on that live practice, like get up and down, but just haven't been able to do that. So it's making me better as a coach. And hopefully I'll never have to do it again, but you know, like maneuvering and figuring it out, like it's been good. So I think it's a challenge. I like challenges. Like, I like the hard stuff.
Alright, we'll wrap it up there.